Two. Hey everyone, this is Sterling Lee, and this is another episode of Durham Unplugged. With me today, I have a very special guest, and I always say that, but this guy is incredibly special. His name's Ali. You may have seen him around. He works for the college, if I'm not mistaken, Durham College.
That's right.
He works for the AI Hub at the Durham College. You're head of the AI Hub, if I'm not mistaken.
Not really. I just work there. I'm not the head of it.
I'm going to call you the head. And he's half man, half machine, half amazing. So that's three halves. Ali, how you doing, buddy?
Everything is airy. Everything is chill. Let me introduce you to my main man that keeps me company.
Are you a big Family Guy fan?
I am a huge Family Guy fan. And let me tell you this. I grew up on a diet of cartoons. So Family Guy was one of them. But The Simpsons was a particularly big one, bro. And I just realized this last night. I haven't watched an episode of The Simpsons for the last 1.5 years now.
You don't have Disney Plus?
What's that?
You don't have Disney Plus?
No.
Oh my God, Disney Plus is the best because they have the Simpsons license. So I'm able to go back through all the classic Simpsons. What is your favorite?
I do have a whole stack of previous episodes on DVD.
Right.
But you know what? I do not have Disney Plus, and now you've just given me a reason to get me some Disney Plus.
No, man, first month free. And The Simpsons alone, they have like 5,000 seasons times 20 episodes. So you're good.
Are there any
for social isolation?
When was the last season anyway? I've lost track.
No, I think a lot of Simpsons fans liked the early Simpsons, like up to I was gonna say, so season 12, and then afterwards you kind of stopped watching. What is your favorite Simpsons episode?
Oh, it has to be hands down the one where Homer, I forget which season it is and all of that stuff. But you know the one where Homer realizes that if he gets really, really fat, he'll get to work from home?
Yes, and he wears the muumuu.
And he wears the muumuu. That was the best episode ever. There's that, and then there was the one where I think it's what was it? Where they all imagine themselves in the future, and Lisa's like the president.
And Bart's like this chill guy, right?
Yeah, that was a good one as well. So you know what? Those are two episodes that stick with me. But true story. So I grew up in Dubai, right?
Okay.
And so again, I moved to Canada. What was it? 2007, 2018, something like that. 2007, 2008, something like that. And I came as a student and all that fun stuff. So I never had the kind of diet that you folks have when it comes to television, right? But with satellite TV, post 2000-ish, we then started getting some of the shows that you get here. So Simpsons started making it onto this network that we call the Star Network. So we had Star Plus, and we had shows like American shows like Small Wonder, and then The Simpsons came
Small Wonder with the robot girl. With the robot girl, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So Wiki the Robot, probably one of the reasons why I am where I am today. So Wiki the Robot, I was insanely enamored by that show. And then came The Simpsons. What was interesting in Dubai, and I'm pretty sure people from the subcontinent can relate to this, they started dubbing it over with Hindi. So you'd hear Homer talking, but Homer's talking in Hindi.
Oh, it's hilarious.
It was hilarious, and I was watching it just crack up all day. Absolutely made no sense watching it in Hindi, but I just watched it. And well then, yeah, that's it. So yeah, a heavy diet of cartoons. And then when I came to Canada, I discovered something called South Park.
Yeah.
And after that, it was just downhill for me from there. So,
I think my favorite Simpsons episode is the monorail episode, where they built a monorail in Springfield. Monorail, man! I don't.
That was a sales job and a half.
That was a sales job
and a half, though. And I'm going to refrain from making any political comments, but monorail can have some similarities.
Oh, I see.
But I'll leave that.
This isn't politics. This is not politics. This is unplugged.
We'll leave that aside. But I will tell you another thing is that I think my mom caught on to the fact that I was really, really hooked on to The Simpsons. And when you went in my room, I'd have posters of Bart and all that stuff going around. And I think my mom really cued into that. And so did my dad. And I still remember, my mom visited the United States in 2000. She'd gone to New York to her sister's place for a wedding. Okay. And as you know, with South Asian weddings, this was smaller, just like 200 people. So
200 people, and it was only 6 days as opposed to 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know, but this was 4 days, so it was short, low key. So, but she spent a month in New York, and I remember she watched TV there, all these random shows. So I still remember when I left Dubai for Canada, and her words to me was, "Son, as long as you don't appear on what's that show on the Maury show, or, no,
Yeah,
or as
Morty.
long as you don't appear on the Jerry
Jerry
Springer
Springer.
show, I'm happy."
Yeah,
Jerry Springer,
Jerry
yeah. So
Springer
I
was
think my
was
mom
just
was tuned in too.
trash. I was in high school when Jerry Springer came out, and yeah, like we would watch it religiously. It was on at midnight, and you would watch it on Friday nights, and it was just like, like my wife is having sex with my brother and my father at the same time. And you're just like, what? Who's watching this? But
Yeah,
apparently, it was like a very highly rated show.
it was garbage, it was utter trash, and then people just getting onto it. Yeah, I remember that. We
And
didn't
so
have any.
far, you've kept that promise to your mother. You have not been on the Jerry Springer show, correct?
I have not.
Okay,
So you know
good,
what? My
good.
mom's pretty happy. So what
Yeah.
can I say? But you know what? Speaking of moms and dads, like unplugged right now for people who are immigrants like myself, right? Like recent immigrants, right? That I cannot tell you how much I thank the technology gods today than
Oh,
ever before. Because with our parents being so far, and my parents are they're not youngins anymore, but you know what? They're healthy, but at the same time, I need to stay in touch with them, right? So Zoom and WhatsApp and all of these things, just the ability to be connected at this point, I've been so grateful for that, right? I cannot imagine if this was 15 years ago and something like this happened. Bro, that was it, man. What, we'll be talking on MSN Messenger, man. Like, that ain't
and ICQ.
happening. And ICQ, and we could go on. So, yeah, I'm grateful for the technology gods. And I don't know how this conversation went from Simpsons, South Park, Jerry Springer to the benefits of technology,
That's what
but
this is. It's a
that's
loosey
what this
goosey show.
is.
Loosey goosey. There's no script. Speaking of cartoons, are you watching Rick and Morty?
No, I'm not.
You have to watch Rick and Morty. If you based on the other shows you mentioned, Rick and Morty is the best adult cartoon right now.
Really?
Big fan. Yeah, yeah. Just really smart jokes and just really it's just silliness, which I think you'll enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife made me watch, this freaky thing on Netflix, bro. Messiah.
Haven't heard of it. No.
Oh, we watch Messiah, bro. It's all about these apocalyptic fantasies, and this dude comes to save the universe, and he's like from some place in the Middle East, and then randomly he's in the U.S. and shit like that, bro. And then all of a sudden, all of this Corona stuff happens, and you're like, fuck, probably
Yeah, it's too
time to
real. It's too real,
subscribe to the
guys.
right God now.
You got, you got pray to all of them just to hedge your bets. You never know, right?
Yeah, let's just do something like that. But
So you
hey, you know
mentioned,
what?
sorry, you mentioned a wife. How long you been married for?
I had to think for a second.
Yeah, you're in trouble. We'll
So we
edit this in
got
post
married.
production. We'll edit this.
So I think it was June. Not think I know. We got married June 24th, 2012.
Oh, okay, cool. And it's
So
been
it's
8 years married.
yeah.
Do you have any children? I don't know anything about you.
No, we don't. We don't have any kids yet. We have two useless cats, Bumpy and Choti. They are utterly useless, but I love them to bits. We live
Did you
in
did you get the cats when you guys got together, or you and like she had the cats and then you married, or what happened to the cats?
No, actually. So when we got married, we had no cats. We just bought our first place together. We bought ourselves a condo
In
in
Ajax?
Scarborough. Nope, in
Boo.
Scarborough. I know.
Boo.
Yeah, I know. Wait till you hear about our home search and how we didn't buy the home in Ajax.
Boo.
But we have a reason for that, but I won't say it on air.
Of course,
Anyways,
of course.
so here's the thing. We got our first condo in Scarborough, right off Markham and 401. My wife's family lived in Malvern, so being in Malvern's in Scarborough, so being on the 401 at Markham was close enough, but far enough as well, right, from the
Right.
in-laws. So we bought our condo, and my wife at the time was working for Scotiabank, and she was working a really odd shift from like 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. So it was a little tough, and I was, your regular 9 to 5er, right? So it was a little tough, and we made it work somehow, but we definitely felt that when we needed something in the house, like a pet or something. My mother-in-law wouldn't let us, or neither would my mom let us get a dog. So the other compromise was we'll get a cat. So we heard
And you never
about
looked
this,
back. And you
and we
never looked
never
back.
looked back. So Bumpy is actually a rescue. She was she was about 5 weeks old when we got her,
Oh,
and she was really young, and just the home that she was in, nobody could take care of her. The mother had abandoned her and all that stuff. So we took her in, And you know what? I still remember the first night. She was tiny, and she just hid under a cabinet and like didn't even move. But when I put food out, that was it, right? And then I slept in the living room that night, and I still remember her coming up to me and like, you know how they sniff you, and they get to see if you know you're safe territory. And after that, it was just, you know,
Oh, I think we're having.
3 hours later, she was sitting with me and just sleeping, and it was upwards from there. Saturday night that we got her, and are you able to hear me, bro? Because your video is frozen. No, I think we're good.
I'm blaming your
So it was
connection right now. How does the head of the AI have bad internet connection? Is my question.
Oh. So I said I'm not the head, but I still remember this. Is when she was her first night was a Saturday night, and then Sunday morning my wife took her for her shots, right? And I still remember when she came back home, she walked through the front door and she came complaining and crying about the shots and just came into my lap and slept. And since that day, you know, as much as I get pissed off at her, as much as I call her useless, I don't think there's a day that goes by where I can't just spend like 20 minutes, 30 minutes just with her and just
Sorry,
relax.
we're talking about the cat, not your wife, right?
Shut up, bro.
Just making
Yes,
sure.
the
I'm just
cat.
making sure. I'm just making
Yes, the
sure.
cat. Yes, the cat. And then we
So,
got a second cat.
right. How
Shortly.
much? How much later before you got the second cat?
2 months later.
Oh, okay. So it was pretty quick.
It was pretty quick, and this was another rescue. This was a family that was found in my mother-in-law's backyard, and so she took one of them. We took the other. This one though, she wasn't that easy. She was really small. She had a scratch on her nose. She was injured and all of that stuff. So we had to groom her and take care of her. And I had to be the one to really, because she was wild. Like she was attacked before, so she would still bite aggressively and all that stuff. But we sorted it out, and before you know it, Bumpy and Choti are now the best of friends.
That's
Uh,
cute.
they fight a lot. I mean, they fight for attention and all that stuff. But bro, you know what? It's on days like this. My wife is an essential worker, so or at least actually I should correct that, works in a firm that is designated essential.
Right.
So for me, you know, while I'm working and I want to take a quick break, Bumpy and Jody was around. So as much as I call them useless, I love them. I love me kids. Frozen again.
That's
Just
hilarious.
I said I love technology, and then these screens freaking freeze on me.
Don't blame me. I've done
Yeah.
3 of these with no
Oh
issue.
well.
I'm blaming the AI guy right here.
No, here
So
we go. You
my
know
cat's.
what?
Go ahead.
I could switch to another network, but that would drop me out, and I'll have to come back in. That would suck, right?
Well, we're what? We're 9 minutes in right now. It's up to you. Do you think this is?
Yeah,
I
you know
want to make
what?
sure you get the best video possible.
Yeah, give me a second. Let me switch on to another network.
Sure.
I'll be back in like 10 seconds, okay?
Okay.
Cool.
So Ali's gonna drop off for a minute, and yeah, I guess I'll tell my cat story. My cat story right now is that I adopted my wife's cat, my girlfriend at the time, and yes, are you good? That was quick.
Yo, listen, bro.
That was seamless.
I ain't playing. I'm cooking with gas here.
Yeah. So I was just telling my cat story of like when I got with my girlfriend, she had a cat already, and it was fine. You know, I don't mind animals. I'm not necessarily an animal lover, but cats are fine.
I
And
don't think
all of a
animals
sudden,
love you either, but sure, go on.
yeah, one night I woke up and I couldn't breathe and I thought I was like dying, you know. So I went to the doctor and I was like, doctor, oh my God, I'm wheezing and I feel like I'm choking when I'm sleeping and you know, I think I'm dying. That's always my go-to is that I'm dying. And the doctor's like, oh yeah, you have asthma. And I was like, oh, okay. So this cat, I'm heavily allergic to my own cat, but she's been around for I think like 21 years right now and she's still kicking. So this cat will never leave us. You back? Yeah,
You
you're
know
there.
what? It's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those things with them, man. Once they're with you, it's hard. You
Yeah,
know,
man.
and when we go on vacation and stuff like that, and you know, just having like Pet Nanny Plus, shout out to them. You know, having them come in and check in on the cats, and just or sometimes my in-laws coming in and checking in on them. it's important. You asked if I have kids. Actually, I should say I do. I have two.
You get two
Okay.
fur babies,
Yeah,
right?
very movies. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, that's super sweet.
Yeah.
So we talked about some TV. What is your favorite bad movie? I'm always fascinated. This is how I get to know someone. Is like you can tell me your favorite movies like what? Shawshank, The Godfather. That's fine. But what's your favorite like bad movie where you fundamentally know this is like the worst movie ever, but you still love it?
Yeah, true. You know what? Here's the thing, though, is again, like I'm such a Bollywood buff
Nice.
that you know what, for me to go like and find something that you might know might be a little challenging.
Whoa, whoa,
But let
whoa!
me,
I've seen The Three Idiots. Thank you very much. I know one Bollywood film.
okay. Well, let's reverse this question. So you watched The Three Idiots. Sing me a song from The Three Idiots.
There's the All Is Well, where the guy goes like something, 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 something. All is well. And then I think that's the only one I remember offhand because it was a super cool movie to be honest.
Yeah, okay. So I'll tell you the one that, I'm thinking of the one Hollywood film that I watched, which, was just pure shit, but I just watched it.
Oh, language! This is a PG show. Don't make me bleep you. Viewer
My bad.
discretion. Viewer discretion is advised.
My bad. Let me think. Nothing's coming to mind, bro. Like, it's all Bollywood films in my
Okay, well, I mean,
head. Sorry.
we have a pretty international audience. What is the name of the Bollywood film that you fundamentally know is bad but you still love?
Oh, oh my God, I'm going to make myself so many enemies when I say this. You know which one I thought was shit, pure shit? There was this film
Whoa,
called, oh my
language!
God, I did it
Sir,
again!
sir,
I did it
language,
again!
please!
Oh my God! Okay, so listen, I need to go for like communications training. Okay, so
No, I'm
you
kidding,
said
of
this
course.
is unplugged.
It is. I mean, no, you're right. It is unplugged. You do you. Viewer discretion. Please don't be offended. And if you're offended, I'll post Ali's social media at the bottom. You can get your little.
So the one which I thought was really useless.
What?
So there was this film in 2008 called Dostana, and it was meant to shed light on issues around straight marriages and disrupting the binaries, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like it just had no point. I mean, the acting was good, so
Right.
the music was good, but I just don't know where it went with all of that. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is meant to shed attention to the just trying to break the gender barriers and the sexuality barriers in India."
Sure.
And it was around about the time that there was some political upheaval around some sections in the Indian Penal Code. So I guess it addressed that, but honestly, I just thought it made the reality of non-hetero relationships look so unreal
Right.
that I was like, this is stupid. And here's the thing, right? Is I watched this film at a time, and I say this, very, very openly. I grew up in Dubai, okay? And in Dubai, you could either become a doctor, an engineer, an accountant, or a doctor again, okay? Nobody ever thought about this idea that, oh, you're going to go and work in some lab somewhere, or you're going to go and write some stories, or you're going to go and write some scripts. Nobody ever thought of that shit, right? They loved watching movies, they loved creativity, but God forbid you got a job in that space.
Of course.
And for me, it was always black and white. That was the kind of world we lived in. Bro, grade 7 or grade 8, my biology chapter, my biology textbook, the reproduction chapters were stapled together.
Oh, really?
Bro, that's the kind of environment I grew up in, man.
Yeah,
It's probably changed now, but that's what I grew up in. And there's another story which I'll never share online, which is how those staple pages actually got me into the world of computing. We'll talk about that separately.
Okay, yeah.
But,
well, that's the rated R version.
That's correct. But what was I talking about? Yeah, I was talking about so when I came to Canada and I was at York University, shout out to them. That's where I'm doing my PhDs. I love York. And all York needs is an airport of its own and can claim independence. I love York University. I grew up there. I lived there. My first few days were living in a lecture hall. York gave me everything that I needed to know about Canada. So I still remember is that when I joined different social clubs, because that's how I am. Like I can't sit straight for like 5 minutes without talking to someone, right? So I started getting social and so on, and I got introduced to these non-heterosexual kind of discourses, and I started seeing different clubs, etc. And I started learning a lot. But I started learning a lot, not from the perspective of, this is like, let's party it up, we're all different. I started learning the political realities, like we're talking about Stonewall, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
When I saw a film like Dostana, I was like, bro, this is not worth
Garbage.
it.
It was garbage.
This is garbage. But a lot of people thought, like, hey, it was at least opened the door to more discourse. I don't think as much.
Well, it's how this is not my favorite bad movie. I'll tell you that in a second. But it's how the movie, I think it was called Crash. It was called Crash with Ryan Felipe and Tandy Newton, and it won the Best Picture Oscar that year, and it was one of the worst movies in my opinion. It was about racism. I think it was also around 2007, 2008, and I was just like, this is such a basic movie that doesn't really reflect like true racism, or really isn't having an honest discussion about racism. So yeah, Drive is one of my least favorite movies. I think for a very similar reason. My favorite bad movie, it's called The Quick and the Dead. Now, if I tell you the cast, it is an all-star cast of Oscar winners. So it was a Western about people who like gunslingers, and it had Leonardo DiCaprio, Sharon Stone, Russell Crowe, Gene Hackman. It was like an all-star cast, but it was a crap movie. Like, and I understand it fundamentally, but anytime it's on TV, I will watch it 10 out of 10 times. It is one of my favorite movies, and I know it's awful.
Interesting. Well, I just Googled that movie. I've never seen it before, but I'm not going to watch it based on your reviews.
No, you have to. No, it's so good. Is my point. It's about gunslingers. How can you not like it? But yeah, it's like I think Gary Sinise is in it, and like literally, there's like 20 Oscars if you count all the main actors. But man, was that just a weird movie. But again, big fan of that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well,
nice.
I was going to ask you a question, but then I completely forgot what I was going to ask you.
Write it down, man.
I don't know, man. It's lunchtime. I don't do this.
Yeah, no, I have my chicken fingers here. I made little popcorn chickens for my son. He wanted nothing to do with it, so I'm not eating leftovers. Do you have an air fryer at home?
I don't know.
Get an air fryer. It's the greatest thing.
Really?
It's this little cube.
Tell me more about this new Inception air fryer.
Yeah, but no, it's like it like deep fries your food without like a ton of oil, so it tastes like it's like a restaurant quality chicken bite, but it's just frozen. Air fryers. Check it out on Amazon.
Okay.
You'll get it in a month, but check it out on Amazon anyways.
Oh boy, man. Yeah, don't talk to me about Amazon deliveries right now. That shit done. Oh my god! Why does this happen?
Sir, I don't think you swore this much in my presence ever. And
oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh my god! If anybody from your council sees that, I'm not getting any more speaking opportunities.
Just Maryland specifically. But don't worry, she swears a lot in private company, and I probably shouldn't be saying that, to be honest.
Yo, I'm still like, you know what? It's been a year now since I've met all of you. Well, I actually met you
2 years ago.
Yeah, before you even got elected, because you came out to the hub, right?
I took a tour of the AI hub, and this was when I think I had not even declared I was running yet, but I wanted to see kind of like, I never really took a tour of Durham College.
Yeah.
And so Peter gave me the tour, and then we checked out the AI hub, and it was fascinating. It's so cool that, like, again, like the not to get into politics or even work, but just realistically, Durham doesn't have an identity for being, tech savvy or tech forward. So I didn't to have this little like gem in Durham College right next to us is super cool to have. Now, unfortunately, one of my favorite movies is also Terminator 2. So I want to ask how you are not just creating Skynet right now.
You know what? There's the glitz and the glamour, and then there's the actual raw materials of what you do in the space of technology, right? There's the data sciences, and there's the machine learning. It's not just, robots and all those things that fly.
Hey, it's Skynet was the AI behind the robots. It's the AI that I'm worried about. You're Miles Bennett Dyson, and you're creating this whole thing right now. And then pretty soon, in 2 months, you're gonna have to blow up the whole AI hub. Right?
Fair enough, man. I'll get working on that once this COVID stuff gets done. But yeah, you know what? You're right. But I think in 2 years, a lot's changed, right? Like Ontario Tech has stepped up its game in so many areas and doing some cool stuff. Other folks in the Durham region, the MRC lab, all this stuff. It's all good stuff, right? I think it's just a matter of, us all collaborating, working together. I think the one thing that I learned in the 2 years that, because when you came to visit, I was just like 2 weeks old at the hub.
You had just started your role there, right? Yeah.
It just started. So, one of the things that I would say is that, and which I'm grateful for all of you guys have done is, like just because it's something techie doesn't mean that a non-techie or somebody who's not an AI person can't engage in it, right? And I think creating community around that, for me, you know what, the highlight of my time so far was, do you remember the Global Cyber Olympics?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, bro, that was, seeing that happen, seeing all those teams come to Durham region, seeing all of them compete in Oshawa, and then having that ceremony Ajax, bro, I was on freaking like, it was just
Cloud nine.
proud.
And that was kind of
Yeah,
like,
just
it was kind of
proud.
like your baby too, right? So it's like, it's
Yeah,
cool to put something together, have it executed well, and then
yeah,
be like, I can't wait to do the next one. I'm trying to get like even something as simple as like an esports tournament in Ajax going on. And we had it in the books, but unfortunately because of COVID, we had to cancel it off. But it's just like, I
yeah.
just think
A lot of,
there's an untapped hunger for
oh yeah,
technology in Ajax and Durham. And it's
oh
like
yeah.
stuff like the AI hub is our first way into that, I feel.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, it's tough what's happened with all of this, but you know what? With the upcoming, we're going to be talking today afternoon with your team, the AI and Ajax series, and all those things that we're going to kick back again. It's just important that we continue to do things online and then take it forward from there. Right? So it's tough times for sure, but communities again rallying and coming together, and we'll see where it all takes us.
I think it's been the best part of this is seeing the community come together. Like I think there's like a few people who still like make those like political attacks and those partisan attacks, but it's just like I don't know. Like I think Justin Trudeau and Doug Ford are doing a great job for Ontario and Canada, and I think like they're doing the best they can right now under the circumstances. Because like there's like every decision you make will affect thousands, if not millions, and I can't
Oh
even
yeah,
imagine that kind of pressure. It was just like any you veer off the wrong way and you have 1,000 people getting the knives out ready to jump on you. So I just think like they're doing the
right.
best they can right now, right? And it's hopefully we get out of this sooner than later. But if
Yeah,
not, then
no, I,
I'll homeschool my son.
yeah, no, I hear you, man. It's one of those things, and you know, it's moments like this that I also feel. I feel the weight of the responsibility that we have to some of our students, especially the international community that we have here, right?
Right.
I mean, having been in those shoes before and knowing fully freaking well, international students away from their families, a lot of them look for the summer to go back home and then come back and start their job hunt and all of that stuff. The way in which this whole COVID-19 has hit that, it's tough, and having community for those kind of things and having a multicultural ethos in our community is important, because we have to stay true to what some of the needs are, and it's not singular, which is, oh yeah, summer's coming out, we're gonna go to the cottage. It's not, that's not the reality for everybody, right?
Right.
So opening up those conversations, and realizing the diaspora we have in the region, and the international multicultural fabric that we have, really, really important. I think one thing about COVID-19 has brought to the fore is that this monolithic understanding of what it means to live and work in Durham region has now been disturbed significantly.
No, no
People
doubt.
don't carry vacation days because they're just waiting to go to some island. No, a lot of them have to go and see parents, aging grandparents back home, 16, 20-hour flights. So these conversations, I think, are important, are necessary, and you know what, I really hope when we come out of this, if we forget everything, it would be so not worth it. But if
I
we
think that's my
remember,
biggest concern. That's my biggest fear. Is just how quick or how quickly we go move on to the new thing. Like it
yeah,
wasn't even 10 years ago. This is always my example that we had the BP oil spill, which was the largest ecological disaster of our lifetime.
yeah,
Does
right
anybody
on.
talk about it anymore? Like we've forgotten it.
No,
The white supremacist rally that happened 4 years ago, and that's
oh
that's
yeah,
like, that's crazy that even happened. But it's like it's almost forgotten. And now that,
yeah,
especially now with COVID, like stuff that happened last week feels like it happened 6 years ago, right? Everything time is really stretched out. But it's just like you're right. I hope we learn from this. I hope like our governments are now preparing for this sort of disaster scenario, because it shows how quickly it can happen and how many people it impacts and how unprepared. I mean, let's be honest. I think globally, everyone was to a degree unprepared for this, except maybe like Singapore and Hong Kong, who
yeah.
had the SARS issue and the swine flu issue. So they had kind of experienced this before. But you know, I think it just you're right. I hope behaviors change and habits change because of this. Because if not, then we are doomed to come back here in this exact same situation and just be just as unhappy, right?
Yeah, who was it that said this? Was it Marx that said those who forget their history are doomed to repeat it? And that's
I think it was
exactly.
Sterling Lee who said that. Actually,
Oh,
I could
shut
be wrong for
up!
Sterling. It sounds like it's a good Sterling Lee quote, to be honest. It's a definitely Sterling Lee quote.
Take my dustbuster here. Woof! Whoa! I think
Oh,
I hurt my camera there, but
yeah,
anyways,
there goes your mic. So,
there goes
you
the mic.
mentioned, sorry, I mentioned esports. Are you a gamer? Do you play video games?
Not a lot. I am very familiar with it, but you know which game I play a lot on PS4?
What?
Don Bradman Cricket, and I'm sure you don't play that game.
Well, I'll be honest. I don't even have a PS4. So it's like, don't forget, my kid came 2.5 years ago, and before that I was running, and before that I was moving. So it's like generally I didn't have a lot of time to game. So the last system I have is a PS3. On my
Okay.
phone though, I play a lot of Hearthstone, which I think the Durham Knights. That's what you guys are called, right? The Durham Knights. You guys have an esports
Lords.
team, and so this
Yeah.
is my open challenge now to the Durham Knights. Is I'm a very average player, and I open challenge the Durham Knights to take me on at Hearthstone because I will lose magnificently with my crappy decks.
Yeah, with gaming and stuff, like my brother-in-law writes for the Daily Esports Daily or something like that. He's a big gamer. Both my brother-in-laws are big gamers. I actually in 24. What's up?
You're slowing
I
down.
see
You're
your
cutting
hand up,
yeah, you're
and
cutting off.
I've
Hold
lost.
on. Yeah. Hold on.
Okay.
Connection is unstable. Okay, I think we're back. Tell me about your brother again. Go. Your brother-in-law. Go.
Yeah, my brother-in-laws are both big gamers. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I was. You remember when Pokemon Go came out?
Yeah.
2016 in the summer. I was speaking in a conference in Alaska, Barrow, Alaska, top of the world.
Yeah.
And before the weekend before I had to fly out to Alaska, my brother-in-laws, my wife, and our family went off to New York to see some family. And on the drive back, I noticed like my wife was like on the phone, like, hey, Pokemon, Pokemon. I was like, what the hell are you guys doing? And then she told me about Pokemon Go. And I got addicted, of course. And then lo and behold, the challenge was that when I landed Fairbanks, which is in Alaska, I landed at Anchorage, whatever it is first. So I tried to pick some really unique Pokemons there, and I did. When I was in Fairbanks, I didn't get anything. But then when I got to Alaska, Barrow, there was absolutely nothing. And I still remember walking around the town of Barrow in between the conference, trying to find freaking these unique Pokemon and screenshotting them, right? But nothing happened. So
Let
that
me
was,
ask you though, did you ever think, as a student coming from the UAE to York University, that in 2020 or in 2017 you'd be in Alaska searching for
no,
Pokemon?
no, you know what? I've spent time in Alaska. I've spent time in Nunavut in different hamlets. I never thought that I would be there. I mean, I've done a lot of like travel. Like I've been to Iraq, I've been to Syria, been to different places of Africa, different places else in the Middle East, etc., in Europe. But to think that I'd be in Alaska and that
Yeah.
too, Barrow, Alaska. So I don't remember where I was in Barrow. Barrow is not a huge community, but I do remember this one moment. There was a beach there, right? And I remember just like during the lunch break of the conference, I was speaking after lunch. And always before like I go on stage or something, I like to take, like a 10, 15, because I'm not someone, I don't like reading from a script,
Right.
okay? I don't like going into things, just like very scientific or methodical. I like to just go by what's up here and then just letting it flow, right? That's just the kind of guy I am. But I always like to, before I go on stage, just 10 minutes, just take a walk or something. So just near the conference hall or wherever this conference happened, it was the beach, and I walked around on the shores and I saw this sign saying "Danger Polar Bears,"
Are you
and
serious?
yeah, I was like, "Holy!" And then I stared into the ocean for a second, and it was like, that really felt like the top and the end of the world, because it just felt like you would enter this ocean and then it was a dip to nowhere from there. So Alaska, when I was there, remote communities can teach you a lot. Like looking at the Lizer, looking at how people have just adjusted and they're settled in there. There's conversations to be had on different things, but you can learn a lot by going.
I imagine remote Alaska to just be like the wall from Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
Am I
Yeah,
far off?
Yeah, not too far off. But I will tell you this is that I still remember is that there were two South Asian families living in Barrow, and that was a revelation to me. And there was a Chinese restaurant in Barrow. I was like, "Holy, where have some people, just landed? And did you land here because you knew
Right.
what this place was, or and it reminds me of I had some friends who ended up in Iqaluit in Nunavut, and many of them didn't know what Iqaluit or Nunavut is. They just thought, hey, it's Canada, it must be awesome, and they saw these job postings to like lead some IT infrastructure and in some cases some very specialized mechanical work, and they're like, yeah, we'll apply to go to Nunavut, and when they land in Iqaluit, they're like, oh, what just happened? It's a different space altogether. So it's always interesting to look at the narratives that people have gone through to get to where they are, right? So yeah, that's that.
I always say the minute I lose my sense of wonder in this job is when I will ultimately retire, because I think that's the coolest part of this job is like I never thought I'd meet someone like you from the AI Hub, and now we've gotten to know each other, and you're a friend whether you like it or not. Now we're gonna be pen pals, but yeah, I that's the best part of my role is just like experiencing these new and wonderful things like Durham's agriculture sector, Durham's film sector, like all these things I never would have considered.
Sure.
I'm now knee deep in, and it's a thrill to be part of.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're almost wrapping up now. So before we go, is there a business or a nonprofit charity that you want to plug? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are a lot of them, but specifically, I want to just do a shout out to Durham Recruiting, their CEO, Dustin Kello and Dan Kello. I'm pretty sure you probably know of them.
Yep.
They joined me in doing a lecture on Good Friday for a university in India. And it was really cool to sort of show some of the thinking and thought processes here in Durham region. So shout out to them. And they're always going above and beyond to help students and help people find jobs, especially right now. So, shout out to them. And you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do it. Like a shout out to every freaking business that I've seen in Durham region that's throwing up their hands, doing a webinar, offering support in some shape. BACD, Spark Center, 1855, your friends over at the Ajax Innovation Village, just thank you for at least trying to do something, right? And I think that's really important. The other two that I want to mention specifically are Connects Health and ShiftLink. These are two companies with which we're doing some AI and healthcare work specifically around COVID-19. Stay tuned for some announcements from Connects Health. I think there's going to be one around medication delivery as well to the door.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that would be pretty cool. So, I'll keep you tuned for that. So yeah, those companies, I'd like to give a shout out to them. Just if I can, off the cuff, just a shout out to an individual, if I can do that.
Is it me?
Yes, that individual.
Don't embarrass me. Is it me? Come on, stop.
Yes,
Stop.
yes.
No, sorry, go ahead.
The one individual that I want to do a little bit of a shout out to, Isaac Wanzama from Geek Speak Commerce. All right. This guy, just COVID-19 hit, made the difficult decision of canceling his hackathon and all of that stuff. And we all look forward to that hackathon. But I really liked, the way in which he just came out and said, guys, this is something out of our control. Sorry, sponsors. I will get back to you on what I can do, but bear with me as I get through this. You know what I liked about it? Being freaking straight.
Yeah.
This is the problem. This is what I'm faced with. Bear with me while I solve it. And just be straight up about it. Nobody's expecting miracles right now. And if they are, they're smoking something expired. All right? So, you know what? Good on you, Isaac, for just coming out and saying, look, this big event, I know you've put in some money to this. I know you're all looking forward to it. I'm sorry. COVID's happened, and we need to do the right thing. So shout out to that guy for being straight up.
And Ali, where can people find you on social media?
I'm not that prolific on social media.
I don't know. Don't you have like 1,200 followers?
So you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on TikTok, you can find me on Snapchat.
No, you know what? Don't follow him. He doesn't want to follow me. If he doesn't want the followers, I'll take the followers. So don't follow him. You give me a follow. You can find me.
Oh my God, he's
cutting out again. Hold on, cutting out. I think you're sad here right now, but I can't hear you. This is hilarious.
His name. What's the dude? Your
Okay.
counselor.
Sure.
Ashmi,
Yeah.
follow him.
Don't follow. No, again, Ash
Oh,
is
this
my most
sucks.
viewed video right now. It's all
Can you
right.
hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm gonna wrap up anyways. You can follow me at Your Voice for Ajax #4 on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And then yeah, Ali, thank you so much for joining us. This is actually really chill. I'm glad to get to know you outside of work. I'm glad you got to get your plugs in. And do me a favor and just wash your mouth out with soap because you swear too much.
I will do that right now. See ya.
Perfect. Okay, so this is Sterling Lee signing off from Durham Unplugged. Thank you very much, and we'll see you guys again. Ali, take care, buddy.